house once knew its children. This old house once knew its wife. This old house was home and comfort as they fought the storms of life. This old house once rang with laughter. This old house heard many shouts. This old trembles in the darkness when the lightning walks about. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. Ain't gonna need this house no more. Ain't got time to fix the shingles. Ain't got time to fix the floor. Ain't got time to oil the hinges. No to mend the window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. He's getting ready to meet those saints. This old house is getting shaky. This old house is getting old. This old house has seen the rain. This old house has seen the cold. Oh, his knees are getting chilly, but he feels no fear or pain, 'cause he sees an angel peeping through a broken window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. Ain't gonna need this house no more. Ain't got time to fix the shingles. Ain't got time to fix the floor. Ain't got time to oil the hinges, nor to mend that window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. He's getting ready to meet the saints. This old house is getting shaky. This old house is getting old. This old house has seen the rain. This old house has seen the cold. Oh, his knees are getting chilly, but he feels no fear or pain, 'cause he sees an angel peeping through the broken window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. Ain't gonna need this house no more. Ain't got time to fix the shingles. Ain't got time to fix the floor. Ain't got time to oil the hinges, nor to mend that window pane. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. He's getting ready to meet the saints. Ain't gonna need this house no longer. He's getting ready to meet the saints. Well, they liked it. All right, now settle down. Now we're going to start the service. All right. Our house. Our house. Oh. A person lives in there?
Her house.
It's her house. This is Our House by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. It was really interesting trying to find songs about spaces. And I'll tell on Matt Pianalto, he started singing drum controlled major tom. I'm like, well, that's really not on topic.
The right kind of, different kind of space.
Different kind of space. So we found an assortment, but it was hard. Oh, light the fire. You place the flowers in the vases that you bought today. Staring at the fire for hours and hours while I listen to you play your love song. welcome everyone. Looking around for any guests. I think I know all of you. Let's see. Yep. Casey's here. Oh my gosh. Yay. I know you all probably know Casey because she was here for so long, but it's been a while. Yay. Okay, let's read our opening words, number 444. This house is for the ingathering of nature and human nature.
It is a house of friendships, a haven in trouble, and an open room for the encouragement of our struggle.
It is a house of freedom, guarding the dignity and worth of every person.
It offers a platform for the free voice, for declaring both times of security and danger, the full and undivided conflict of opinion.
It is a house of truth-seeking, where scientists can encourage devotion to their quest, where mystics can abide in a community of searchers.
It is a house of art, adorning its celebrations with melodies and handiworks.
It is a house of prophecy, outrunning times past and times present in visions of growth and progress.
This house is a cradle for our dreams, the workshop of our common endeavors.
We're going to sing a chalice song. If I could get somebody to light the chalice. Oh, thank you. The sun shines bright in the old Kentucky home. 'Tis summer, the people are gay. The corn tops ripe and the meadows in the bloom, while the birds make music all the day. The young folks roll on the little cabin floor, all merry, all happy and bright. By and by, hard times come a-knocking at the door. In my old Kentucky home, good night. Weep no more, my lady. Oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for the old Kentucky home, for the old Kentucky home far away. At this time in this community, we take time to hear what's on each other's hearts, so please come up and share. Did I skip something? Oh, the chalice reading, 448. Sorry. Moving back and forth is confusing. Ready? We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Now, joys and concerns. If I hit a hammer, if this isn't a you hem, I don't know what is. Now it's the offertory. For the offertory, we're doing a song by Iggy Pop called Brick by Brick. And let me just get this. We did have to UUize the words. People are so sad, and I know why. With no chance to live before you die. You get pretty sick if you have to keep it inside. I wanna build a house where Dad don't scream. I wanna live in peace, quietly. I wanna have a place, a life. building it brick by brick, brick by brick. I'm building a house where I can think and have some balance and dignity. I'm building a house where no one can hurt me. I'm building a house where the weak are strong. I'm building a house with a real song. I'm using a faith that is immortal. I'm building it with simplicity and the way that we feel, you and me. I'm building it with what I believe in. With shovel and pick, I'm building it brick by brick, brick by brick, brick by brick. Now I'm looking at just a little time. So be it. I want to be true to my simple heart. I'll put nothing else above it. Brick by brick, brick by brick, brick by brick, brick by brick, brick by brick by brick. Break out into a little rock and roll that makes Gregory so happy. Do you guys want to sit?
Yeah.
Okay. Could someone hit the lights, make this look beautiful with the less bright? Okay, so last spring I was thinking about this sort of how the space is evolving and adding stuff and how it looks and building on and all that, and I thought, this is interesting. Because of the research and kind of who I am, I'm very interested in how humans use their space. So I proposed to the board, let me keep going. Oh, there we go, there's the beginning. So I proposed to the board that we start a year-long conversation, and they said yes, we could do that, about the feel of our space. So this is the kickoff. So originally, and I never saw this, but this UUFMC had a rental space, and I wished we had pictures. I would have loved to have put that in here. And then we bought this space we're sitting in now. This was a Jehovah's Kingdom Hall, and it just comes with some givens. I mean, this is the way it's laid out. We haven't changed the wall or floor colors or these like trims around the windows. There was a stage, which I think was kind of new to the UUs because it was years before anyone actually stood on it and used it. And then there were, of course, the restrooms in the lobby. And then the things that came from the rental space, as far as I can tell, are this pulpit right here made out of walnut, some of the art that's here, some of the plants. I'm not sure if they came all the way from then, but there's always been plants. And then a piano. This is so, and like I said, nobody was using the stage. I was always like, why aren't we using the stage? Then an addition was built. Still needs a place to reside. It still needs a place to call home. Whoa. I told Jack I was going to quote him. He's like, I don't remember any of this. But it's a homily that I found. I can give you the whole thing, too. So UU sanctuaries and churches go, of course, way back, and they weren't UU, they were you, right? The Unitarians go way back, and I suppose, I don't really know a lot about the history of the Universalists, but the Universalists did not join their U onto our U until the 60s. So here are some of the oldest historic Unitarian churches, and a lot of them are in the northeast of our country. And all 4 of these in these pictures are in Massachusetts. And of course, all those famous Unitarians back then, you know, the Transcendentalists, and I'm sure they all floated in and out. I'm sure they all did lots of service, right? I think they, were busy. But so these churches, to me, look kind of like traditional Christian churches, which is the tradition, that is where Unitarian roots are, is with Christian theology. And they're really beautiful, I think. This one in the middle, see if I can do I can do this. This was built by 2 brothers who actually died on the Titanic. They were Unitarians. They were the architects of this. And this beautiful, I love this sort of, I don't know what you call that, this besides something fancier than the ceiling. Arch. That big arch, yes. It's beautiful. And then you can see, too, as we think about pulpits, I was kind of interested to look at the pulpits because we're talking about pulpits. So these, of course, are very traditional pulpits. Here's kind of this. And look at all this curtainage here. Wow. And then this thing, wow. And, oh, wow, this. And, oh, wow, this, with these things, too. So it's very, very traditional and kind of serious looking to me. And the pews, very churchy, pews. Yeah. So moving on. This is all laid out kind of chronologically. And I'm sorry, I don't have actually there are notes over there and I can't see them from here, can I? Let me take this off. No, they're on my computer, I got it. I can do this, and still, then you can hear me. Okay, I don't have any notes on this one, but, so these are, am I on your way? These, again, are older UU churches, but these are definitely older UU churches that are still being used. I believe, if I remember correctly, this one is in the south. But I don't, there's some detail written on.
It looks like a lot like the one in Washington, D.C. I don't know whether.
This one? Yeah. Older UU churches that are still being used. This one, I think it's pretty cool the way it has a little bit of a rounded feeling to it. And then it looks like it's decorated for Christmas, maybe. Right? Whenever Gregory and I travel, we always go to UUs and look at them. And it's like, wow, that's how they do that, huh? Oh, cool. Okay. So these are moving into more modern day. The white one on the right, this is in Charleston. It is an amazing, amazing building, just beautiful. What else have I got here? The one, let's see, which one's which? The First Unitarian Church of Philadelphia, I believe, is the one with the reddish pews right here. And of course, this has been around a long time. Look at that pulpit. It's up in the air, and there's a little cover over it. Like if people throw stuff at you, right? Protects the person speaking. I don't know why they have that cover. It looks kind of Catholic. It's a soundboard? Oh. Oh my gosh. Thank you. I wondered what that was. And then this one down here on the left, where it looks like they have almost looks like an orchestra is up there. That is in Boston. That's King's Chapel in Boston. They all have interesting names. This next one, these are more older churches. This one right here is in New York City, and it is the All Souls. It's just called All Souls. Very well-known church. This one over here, I'm not sure, but I think this might be like Scotland or something. I thought it was pretty, so I left it in there. Then the one in the middle is the First Unitarian Church of Philadelphia. So there's the pulpits, and very traditional. These are getting a little more modern. Let's see, I think I have. So the one that it's on the left, it looks kind of half wood. That is in Los Angeles and was built in the early 1900s. Doesn't that just look like LA, right? The one on the right is the UU Church of Tarpon Springs in Florida. It was built in 1909. And it has a collection. You can see these this triptych of paintings up here. They have a collection of work by one of their artists that belonged to their church. His name is George Innes Jr. And they're all, they look similar to that. So they have a room in their church. I couldn't quite tell, but it was, not right in the sanctuary, but it was another room where they had kind of a gallery of his work, and all the work is owned by the church. So early 1900s. Now, Unity Temple. This is Frank Lloyd Wright's great piece of architecture that people say it changed architecture at that moment. Because what he did was so different than what was being done. And he built it. This is built in 1908. It's kind of in the area of Chicago. They say that it's the first modern building in the world. This is what they say in architecture, because it combines this sort of, it's almost like the bones of the architecture and the way the building's built show. And that was his big change. He shows it. Also, it was a brand new material that had never really been used, which is reinforced concrete. And then, from there, that material just took off. Also, I have some more pictures of this. One of the interesting things about the way that he built designed the Unity Temple is that it's supposed to be, the design reflects unity. No one that's seated in this sanctuary is any more than 40 feet from the pulpit. So you can see there's this level here and up here, all the way around these three sides, there's the two levels. So that people are not, there's not way in the back kind of seating. So let me show you some more pictures of this. And this, so what you're looking at right here is this. And it's... Yes, and I'll show you some more pictures of that. I love this building. Gregory and I visited it, and we really enjoyed you can go in and take a little tour. So this here is sort of just a side view. There's also some floor seating, but you can see those two balconies there. You're looking towards the front. These, you can go out over here. This is a view from the very back of... looks like maybe the upper balcony, looking forward. And there's those windows. You can see them up there. So he put the windows up at the top because the street outside was kind of busy, and he didn't want that view. So the light comes in from up here. And then this is just a view of, see right here, this pillar, this is a view of the corner. And of course he designed all of the lighting fixtures and, you know, everything. The furniture, everything is Frank Lloyd Wright designed. And they have kind of a foundation to keep this building up, but also a very active congregation. Then another set of pictures. So here's getting at the windows. There it is for you, Diana. So you can see better. Here's the windows. This is probably, I think this is looking at the, like if you were standing at the pulpit, I think that's the right side. So you can see, here's the lower seating. Oh no, this is maybe the back, because here's the pews facing. So maybe the pulpit's over here, they're facing forward, and this is the back floor seating and the back upper balcony. So these windows go all the way around the top. You can see them up here too. Here's the people. So right up here, these people up here are sitting there, I think. No, they're sitting over there. It's kind of confusing. So there's the pulpit. Anyway, so there's more of those windows. And this is the ceiling. The ceiling also has windows in it. Kind of almost like stained glass, right?
What are the windows made of? That is to say, pseudo-stained glass. Is that literally glass?
It is glass. Yeah. It is glass, and I've already forgotten the year this was built, but I could look back. 08, yes, thank you. I don't have all this memorized. I've been looking at a lot of pictures. So this is another Frank Lloyd Wright. Now this was later. In Madison, Wisconsin, he built this in 1950. 1950. This is the first Unitarian Society of Madison, Wisconsin. I think the names of them are kind of interesting. There's societies and there's temples, and so here is Frank Lloyd Wright about 40 years later, you know, kind of what he's doing with materials, a lot of natural materials. And as we work our way through up to the very modern UU spaces, a lot of preference for natural materials. Probably, you know, that sort of connectedness to nature that comes from our sources. This is, there's the pulpit right there. And so this part is right here behind the pulpit. This is the First Unitarian Church of Rochester, New York. This was designed by an architect by the name of Louis Kahn. This is one of the largest congregations in the UUA. It was built in 1962. So you can see, again here, really not windows looking out, but light. So the light is coming, oh, sorry, wrong thing to do there. The light is coming from this big space right here, kind of above this pulpit. See that window light? Here's another picture of it from the other side. This is looking from see there's the pulpit again. This is looking from the very back, and I'll show you another picture. This is actually the choir loft right here in the back. Here's how it looks from the outside. It's big. It's really big. Here's another picture of it. So this is picture up here on the left is a picture from the pulpit area looking back to the back. And you can see, I don't know, they're celebrating something. They've got these things hanging up here. I don't know what they are. But there's the choir. And every time you see this, they always have these colorful cloth installations here. Those are permanent. Probably. And also not to look at so much concrete, maybe. It's a big place. Down here, oh, see, I keep doing that. Darn. Go back up. So down here, this is the view, again, from the front. It's empty. You know, you can see people kind of touring to look at it. And then you can see the light coming in from above, right up here. And this is Louis Kahn's quote here, "No space architecturally is space unless it has natural light." So this was his philosophy. And then this picture down here is kind of looking crosswise across the choir loft. So this light is in the back, right here. And then before I showed you the lights that are up, above the front. So lots of kind of light coming down. This is the Unitarian Universalist Church of Sarasota, of course, in Florida. And I think it's interesting, this ceiling reminds me of that ceiling we were looking at in that older church. Yeah? You went there? Yeah. Uh-huh. It's, let's see, it was designed by Ralph Twitchell. And this is called the Sarasota School of Architecture. And Ralph Twitchell his father was on the building committee. So here's the church. But he was a well-known architect. He wasn't just some young guy. So you can see they have a little bit of stained glass, which you really don't see very often in these UUs. And so this is kind of pointed right here. And you can see there's the pointy part from the outside. And they have since, built on to make this bigger. So I think that might be the pulpit right there behind these people. And I don't know, they're celebrating something right there. So they have a panel up there. Let's see. So the philosophy of that Sarasota school was about honesty of materials. So all of these materials were local, and I can't remember, but the wood is a special local wood, and all that sort of thing. This is the Unitarian Society of Hartford, Connecticut. It's wild, isn't it? This was designed by Victor Lundy, and it was built in 1964. And I think that a lot of these architects were very influenced by Frank Lloyd Wright's efforts to kind of explore what you can do with architecture, what you're expressing with the building. And you can see this, so it's got this amazing roof, and here's what the roof looks like from the outside. And then the pews are it's kind of a rounded setup. And then, I don't know there's the pulpit right there. And then they've got a pipe organ, like in the old churches. Now, I have to say that when I was surfing around to find pictures, there was a special fund to take care of this leaky roof. So there's some problems emerging for that church that was built in 1964. And this is the UU Church of Westport, Connecticut. So these are outside views. This is that from the outside. It's hard to tell, but it's sort of heading upward. Here it is from the side. They're amazing, beautiful spaces. And then this looks out on greenery. This was also built by Victor Lundy, the person who did the one we just looked at. And that was who had the leaky roof, yeah. But this was a couple of years later, and this was built in 1965. I think it's interesting, to look at the furniture. I see a lot of these wooden chairs, and we have our, Jehovah's Witness chairs. But, I think they're, it sort of does that natural material thing. I see a lot of churches liking those wooden chairs. Let's see. This is the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa, Ontario, in Canada. The UU World, the magazine that we get, has a special feature called Landmarks, where a lot of these pictures that I found came from those. And this was I think it was the last UU World. This particular landmark, this beautiful building, was written up because it was having its 50-year anniversary, and the community was celebrating. And here's a quote from that article: "The design and materials were required to embody unity, freedom, simplicity, openness, contemporaneity, humility, and religious humanism. Western red cedar and copper above a strong base of concrete block was used extensively in the entire building to impart warmth and humility and create a subtle tie with the surroundings. No matter what the service is about, one is always connected deeply to the natural world. So that's a person talking about this church who obviously is a part of that congregation. So to me, this looks kind of like the Frank Lloyd Wright building in Madison, Wisconsin, that has the big, tall, kind of pointed glass thing. I'm sure there's fancy names for all that. And also the light fixtures. Yeah, look kind of Frank Lloyd Wright to me. So moving on, here's the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Richmond, not Richmond, Kentucky. Richmond, Virginia. This was built in 1972. See, again, the wooden chairs, the stackable wooden chairs.
They have all those lights going, of course, they listed some pretty high-flying.
Yeah. The U-Band envies them, yes. So there's their little pulpit. And so this is a very, kind of wood-focused sanctuary. Aren't these pictures interesting? I love it. Okay. Here's the White Bear Church, UU Church in Minnesota. This is new. The church has been there a while, but this is their new building. It was built in 2006. So there's two pictures, if you can kind of sort them out. Here's the edge. So here's the pulpit. They have these softer looking chairs, but they're set up in kind of a half circle. Yeah, and then there's these big windows here looking out. This is their property, and there's some kind of, I forget what, special sanctuary garden or something like that out there. So it's a pretty big church for White Bear, Minnesota.
They asked the question, is White Bear the name of the town? And is that, in terms of possibly indigenous population Native American? Or
It's the name of the town, which was probably taken somewhere from Native Americans, but
It's a suburb of Minneapolis.
I don't know.
Meet in a gym in a local school, so I have been there.
Oh, cool. Yeah. And this one was built in 2006. So we're getting to the end of the slideshow. So this is you can kind of feel the modern shift that's going from, if you think about the older churches. Now back to Frank Lloyd Wright in the First Unitarian Society. This is in Madison, Wisconsin, if you remember. This church is now called the Landmark Auditorium. Madison, Wisconsin is fairly liberal. So their church has grown. Here's the Atrium Auditorium where they hold their regular services that's been built on to the original Frank Lloyd Wright piece. So here's the front, there's the pulpit and the little table. Now they've got those, this looks like EKU furniture to me, like those stackable plastic things. Big windows. Look up here is a balcony. Well, I don't know what this stuff is back here, but it's gorgeous. Some kind of wood. This out here is a hallway that is kind of part of this construction, and it attaches to, there's all these classrooms and all this wonderful stuff out here. And here's a view of that window from the outside. Look at this cool walkway between buildings. I mean, this is a church that's really growing. Are you done looking at that one? Madison, Wisconsin. So here's the Frank Lloyd Wright that was built there, and then this one is the addition. This is the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Central Oregon. This is a very new building. It was built in 2015. Central Oregon, I don't remember the city, but Central.
I'm guessing it's around Bend, because that would be the big community there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So here is their this was built by a group of architects. It's 50 architects who work together to do large construction, and they're called Hacker. Hacker is the architect. So you can see how new this is. Here's, if this wasn't kind of covered up, you'd see there's like logs laying here that was, where it was cleared. So there's the pulpit. Lots of wood. Lots and lots of wood. So here's the front. And then this is the view if you were sitting where they are, looking back. And I think it's very interesting how they scattered these colors in the chairs. And there's more pictures. I didn't put all these pictures in here, but in there, so this is going out into their lobby area, they have some of these colors continued on, kind of shown the same colors. It's beautiful, just beautiful. This hasn't been built yet. Well, this church up here is in Seattle, the University Unitarian Church in Seattle, right where the University of Washington is. And this down here is a drawing. This is from Hacker. So you can see this structure here is right there, and this is their plan of what they're going to build on. So this is in process right now, and it's going to be done in 2019. So that's about it. So the idea of this congregational conversation is that it's good to have conversation. It's good to consider, to hear each other and reflect, not to, rush into a decision, but to give time for, us to just cook about what about our space? Where are we headed with our space? This is, obviously the Jehovah's liked it this way, but is it our style? I don't know. It's just a conversation. Maybe it is, and that'd be fine too. So these congregational conversations that happen a lot of time in UUs, especially bigger UUs, usually last about 2 years. Our board, and I think this is a little more focused conversation, but these are the kind of the things that you'll do every couple years. These bigger churches will have these, like the conversation that's going on right now is about diversity in our church, or whatever they feel they need to talk about. And so those are just examples, but I think this conversation, until May is plenty of time for us. It's a little more concrete than, what's our mission or something. It's pretty concrete. So maybe it'll help us get good at these conversations. So the things that I've thought about discussing, and I don't want to do this today, but it's just sort of to give you a feel about what we might talk about. Really what I mostly want to hear about today from us is, how do you want to do this conversation? But these are the kind of questions you could discuss together. How does our space look to first-time visitors? Does it feel different to new members than it does to long-time members? What do you like the best? What do you not like as well? What would you change if you had money? I'm not saying we have money, because I don't think that's true, but you might have some money you want to give us. So, or you could do one-word rounds. I'm a big one for the one-word rounds. How should our sanctuary feel? What would the one word be that you would say? Or how does this lighting feel to you? The one word. The walls, the floors, the ceiling, the furnishings, like the chairs and stuff. How would you like it to feel 10 years from now? Because we have, we change it all the time. We add to it. And so like I said, this is to last through May for whoever wants to participate. It's not a planning effort. It's not a decision-making effort. It's just to start bubbling ideas and see where they end up. The board makes these kind of decisions, not groups that showed up for coffee. But you can talk to the board about your ideas. It's not a rushed thing. So here's my question, and we can probably turn the lights back on so we can see each other. How do you want to have this conversation? People are liking coffee. We like wine. Coffee hours early in the day, wine hours later. Why? Wine hour in the morning, yeah.
Formal? Do we want semi-formal? Do we want casual? I mean, how can we, the question in my mind, how can we, or is it? The question, how can we best get to what we're aiming for? And the question is, what are we aiming for? So to me, in a sense, formalized is kind of nice, but I would like to feel a little bit more comfort. Not that I'm uncomfortable with formal, but I think just more ebb and flow, listening, definitely.
Yeah.
And yet, if someone is interrupted with what I call a parenthetical from somebody else, is that appropriate or not? I think a few guidelines, but not a whole heck of a lot of guidelines.
Yeah, and one of the things I've thought about is kind of moving from space to, have a conversation about this space. Have a conversation about another space. The bathroom's so blah. Whatever. I mean, we can't all go in the bathroom, but, sort of, yeah, you do need guidelines for discussion. It sort of depends on the size of the group, what you probably need. And I'm thinking, it's whoever shows up. We're not doing this during our regular Sunday time.
Well, I've got the power.
You've got the mic. All right.
The power. Power is mine. What about a media online accumulated idea repository?
Oh, like a Google Doc
Google
place.
Doc, something
Yeah.
that anybody can.
Yeah, we could keep track of people's ideas and keep them someplace so everybody could see them like that.
Because not everybody can make the trip to the meeting.
To be here at every
Right.
discussion.
I think you might get a higher percentage participation.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great idea. Other ideas? I saw people. Yeah.
To add to what Gregory's saying, my idea initially was, use some flip charts around our space and have people write on there what they think, what they'd like. But the media space is also a good place for people to just weigh in.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those can be anonymous or not, but the thing that strikes me about seeing our pictures this morning, we can't have those beautiful spaces.
No.
We're not going to turn this place into, Frank Lloyd Wright. But we can make some choices that will bring in some natural elements.
Yeah.
One thought that I had, or someone said to me about some of the paintings, some people just hate some of the paintings.
Everybody has different tastes about art.
And I think we
yeah.
need to start talking about what we're going to leave up and what we're going to take down.
Or like
Or
the Frank Innes art is not all in the sanctuary. They also have a
Right.
gallery space. So,
Right.
there's an in-between.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to mention was a good gallery space. And then Diana took my
She's
thunder.
great minds.
Am I next? One observation, these pictures were wonderful, Doris. Thank you so much for digging in and finding them. I would have been curious to have looked at the Universalist churches. It was a rural church, and so you would have seen very, very different kinds of buildings in the earlier time. So that's part of our heritage, too, because the roots of both go way, way back.
That's true.
That's just an observation.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I try to keep maybe pushing, I don't know what it is, my point of view that this congregation is not a fixed congregation in a box. We're a living, group, and so we keep evolving and changing and thinking our ideas, and it's wonderful to have all of this input.
Yes.
So the conversation, I think, is wonderful.
Good, good. Did you want to, or did
My
she just
only-
hand you that?
My only point is that the churches that we saw all relied very much on their natural materials out of which they were made. They were not decorated, so to speak.
It's kind of simple.
Yeah, they kept it very simple,
Yeah.
but rich because of the materials that they used.
One of the things that really struck me was not only the natural materials, but also the light.
Yeah, they all emphasized
And I'm,
light.
like dreaming of skylights, maybe about 20 of them, That's what you're... Make these... This is a beautiful garden right here, yeah. See, we got lots of ideas already.
I wonder why the Jehovah's Witnesses like these tiny windows. They really get on my nerves. I want large windows, and I know that's expensive, but if I had $5,000, I'd open up that space. Not necessarily this side, but this side. This side has a lot of beautiful greenery.
That's interesting, yeah.
Because I like natural light too. Our house in Barberville, right outside, is very dark, and that's the only thing I don't like about it. It's a old historic farmhouse and very traditional. We've tried to modernize it a little, but it still doesn't have enough light.
I think about chairs a lot. Yeah.
If I had $5,000, I'd redo the lighting. I'd get rid of the fluorescent lights. Yeah.
Oh, the fluorescent light is not good for you,
Yeah. Who was there somebody? Yeah.
May I make one more comment? Your hubby's comment. Wait a minute. Let me assert myself. No, sorry. Your hubby's comment about media, and I would like in the next week or so, or even more time, depending upon what we decide, in a sense, to do that media thing and kind of get it rolling. My question is, there needs to be at least one person or not who sort of, keeps the parameters of what we want on that. I would like to see that go forth, but I'm not volunteering. But
Yeah, and I would love to do it unless somebody else wants it. And also I would love to.
Right.
Might be nice to have a little group of just a few people that kind of lead, not just one. If anybody wants to, if it's okay with you, I'll partner with me. Go.
One thing we could do is,
Robert, it's so fun to watch you run around.
yeah. Thank you, President Doctor. I could put a link on the webpage. You could click on it and
The
put your comment in.
UUFMC webpage?
Yeah.
Good
You
idea.
could link to the repository
Uh-huh.
and add your comments that way.
So
But
anybody
in
could
the
go?
in the interest of, well, I would give it a password. Just UUFMC.
Mm-hmm.
To get there, so that robots and other hackers can. I'll just go right in there, but
Okay, thanks.
that'd be a central access point.
So may I make one more comment again? Can we have a missive that comes out from UU to the members who aren't here, and plus all of us who are here, remembering it all, to do it sort of a introduction, this is what we're doing, and this is the procedure. So again, not volunteering, but
We
making
want
that
your-
comment.
we want your input. The next time we're going to get together and talk.
Just as what am I going to say? An FYI is
I'll
what I'm
try to get something together for the next newsletter.
Great.
Is this on?
You know,
it says on.
have you noticed there's certain people that have lots of ideas, and maybe we should make them get on the group. Barbara.
For me, what's important is when I'm in a space, any space, whether it's a church or something else, how does it feel?
Yeah.
Not, I don't like that art, or what, how does it feel to have art? How does it feel to have light-colored whatever, and so forth. Now, we're not going to put in $20 million to do all our ideas, but I think not just in churches, but everywhere you are, look around. How does it feel to be there? That's the critical thing for me.
And how do we want it to feel? Yeah, and that's a good place to start instead of just talking about the cost of a chair or something, but to talk about what do we want? What do we want it to feel like? It's hard, I think, to not rush right to, well, I would put this skylight right here. You know, it's hard not to just go to like a problem-solving mode or a planning mode, but it'd be good to have those broader conversations.
I just wanted to say, back in the summer when we were in our informal seating areas, that really appealed to me aesthetically. I like to walk in and see a different design of the chairs and the pulpit maybe over there or over here or somewhere else. I like change, I guess. I like to see the uniformity, same thing every Sunday. I don't know if, I just like to mix things up. I just like to see the chairs, fresh. The chairs are in a different format, like a semicircle, or straight lines are not real. I don't like straight lines, I guess. I'm too feng shui-ish.
Yeah, and it feels like a very traditional Christian church when you have the lines. And I noticed a lot of these kind of use half circles or a lot of seating that can be rearranged rather than permanent in the newer churches. Well, we should probably, anybody else? One more? Yeah.
Hi. We're in the back space.
The balcony.
No, seriously, something like Pinterest where people can, you can link to, like if you have another site where you have discussion going on, you can link to a Pinterest site where you can, I don't know how much you've used Pinterest, but you can put pictures, you can put ideas, you can put links to all kinds of things. And that would be an easy way, too, for people to say, oh, that looks great. Let me just, I don't know. I like having the visual as well as the written input. It was fantastic to see, all those pictures of things and not just trying to envision what would it look like if there was a ceiling that was a cloud. That kind of thing. So I don't mind helping with that.
You'll help? Oh, good. Well, I think we should try to maybe go home. Well, actually, the program committee has to stay here. We have a meeting. But let's finish up with our closing words. But if you're interested in, and I think this is it, if you're interested in this discussion, let me know. And I would, anybody that wants to do anything, it's not my thing. I'm glad to work on it. I think it's interesting. But, I don't want to be like owning it. All right, let's read our closing words. If you have a program. Oh, I'm supposed to do that. You read the closing words. I'll do that. We extinguish.